Well, there are a lot of problems in the world. Don't suppose you needed me to tell you that. There are wars and threats of wars. There's persecution in many places. There are economic problems. There's corruption. There are all sorts of things going on that we don't think are the way they should be. And according to the polls, there are a lot of people who don't think things are going to get any better, at least not in the short term. And that's true regardless of who might win the election that's coming up in a couple of weeks. People are looking around at what's going on, and they don't see anyone who actually seems to have a plan for making things better. In fact, many people don't think that there could be a plan for making things better. They don't think things can get better. Many people believe that our best days are behind us. They've given up hope for the future. Now, maybe you share that view, and maybe you don't. But just know this is not the first time in history that people have felt this way. They were feeling that way at the time of our Bible reading today, the reading from Jeremiah. And that brings us to what we're going to talk about. We're up to number 2 in our sermon series, The Bible's Greatest Hits, looking at the most popular Bible verses according to BibleGateway.com. And today it's Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Now, as we said last week, we need to look at the context in which this verse comes. The once mighty nation of Israel has been taken over by other countries. The only part of Israel that still exists is just one province, the province of Judah. And now it has fallen too. It's been taken over by Babylon. Not only that, but the people themselves are forced to leave Judah. They are forced to leave Jerusalem, removed from there, removed from the land that God has given them, removed from their holy city, and taken to go and live in Babylon. The people of Israel were about as low as they could possibly be. And to make things worse, there were false prophets telling them everything was going to be okay. One specifically that's mentioned is a false prophet named Hananiah. He had promised the people their exile was going to be short, that within 2 years they would be back in Jerusalem again. And of course it did not happen. Hananiah had given them hope, but it was a false hope. When our hope is proven to be false, we end up feeling even more miserable than we were before, don't we? The people of Israel had no idea what they should do. Should they give up? Should they try to rebel, try to take their land back? They had no idea. Nobody had a plan. Nobody even seemed to have a clue. All they knew was things were bad, and there did not seem to be any chance things were going to get better. It looked like their best days were behind them, and many people gave up hope for the future. That was the situation when God spoke to the prophet Jeremiah. Now remember, this is the 29th chapter of Jeremiah. Jeremiah had been around for quite a while at this point. God had told Jeremiah what was going to happen to the nation of Israel. And Jeremiah had been trying to warn the people about this. He had warned them for years what was going to happen. And they simply would not listen. But now, when they saw that everything Jeremiah had warned them about was actually happening, now all of a sudden they were ready to listen. They realized that God truly had spoken to Jeremiah, that Jeremiah truly was a prophet. So God told Jeremiah to write a letter to the exiles, telling them what they should do. And in the first part of that letter, God tells them, look, you guys might as well just make the best of things, make yourselves at home in Babylon, because you're going to be there for a while. Make yourself at home, settle down, plant crops so you have enough food, marry, have children. Pray for peace and prosperity in Babylon because its future is your future. And I wonder how the people of Israel reacted to that. Maybe it made sense to some of them because, what God was telling them was basically, look, I know you're not where you want to be, but you might as well make the best of it. Stop wishing for things to be different because things are not different. They're not going to be different. So live your lives, live good lives, and make Babylon your home because it is your home whether you like it or not. Maybe that made sense to some of them. But I think there had to be others who were thinking, but God promised us Jerusalem. This was supposed to be our holy city. God had promised us not only our city, but our land, our nation. Are we supposed to just give up on that promise? Don't we need to figure out some way to get our city back, to get our land back, to get our nation back? Don't we need some sort of plan? And God's answer basically was, no. No, you don't need a plan. Because guess what? God says, I have the plan. I know what's going to happen. You are going to be in Babylon for 70 years. But after that, you're going to come back to Jerusalem. And listen to God, how God says this is going to happen. God says, I will come to you and fulfill my good promise to bring you back to this place. You will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, and I will bring you back from captivity. God tells them, yes, you are going to get your city back, and your land back, and your nation back. But you are not going to be the ones to do it. God says, I'm going to do it. I know the plans I have for you. God says, this is going to happen because of my plan, not because of your plan. Your plans are what got you into this mess in the first place. You insisted on doing it your own way, and now here you are. And here you're going to be for 70 years. But after that, you will come to me. And you're going to ask to do things my way. And you will. And then you'll get back to where you want to be. So what's that mean for us? Well, it does not necessarily mean God's going to come along and solve all our problems and rescue us. This was a promise that was made to a specific people at a specific time. We cannot just assume that it's going to apply to us. It does not necessarily apply to our world, to our country, or even to our church, much as we might like it to. But we do know some things. One of them is, we know that God is good. Another is, we know that God loves us. We know from the promises in the book of Revelation that God has an ultimate plan for the world, a plan that ends with God defeating evil and bringing about a new heaven and a new earth. We know that God does indeed have plans that we know nothing about. If we believe in a good and loving God, it follows logically that those plans will be to prosper us and to give us hope and a future. So here's what I think this means. You and I may not have a plan for making things better in the world. We may not have a plan for making things better in our country. We may not have a plan for making things better in our church, whether we're talking about this specific church or the United Methodist Church generally. You and I may not have those plans, but God does. It's not our plans that are going to make things happen. Following our plans is usually what gets us into trouble in the first place. God is the one who has the plan. So what we need to do, I think, is what God told the people of Israel to do. And here it is one more time. You will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, and I will bring you back from captivity. We need to call on God. We need to come and pray to God. When we do, God will listen to us. We can seek God. We need to seek God. We need to find God, and we will when we seek Him with all our hearts. When we get close to God, when we stay close to God, God will show us what God's plan is, or at least as much of it as we need to know. God will show us where we're supposed to go, and what we're supposed to do, and what we're supposed to say. God will show us our role in God's plan to the extent that we have a role in it. I truly believe that for all of our problems, that is the answer. Call on God. Come and pray to God. Seek God with all of our hearts. Get close to God and stay close to God. That's the answer. It's the answer for the problems of our church, again, whether we're talking about this specific church or the United Methodist Church generally. It's the answer for the problems of our country. It's the answer for the problems of our world. Call on God. Come and pray to God. Seek God with all of our hearts. Get close to God and stay close to God. Now, do we have the ability to make everyone in the world do that? Of course not. We don't have the ability to make everybody in the country do it. We don't even have the ability to make everybody in this church do it. I hope you will, but, I have no way to check. I don't want to check. But here's how we can start. We can start, each one of us, with ourselves. We can start by calling on God ourselves, by coming to and praying to God ourselves, by seeking God with our own hearts. We can start by getting close to God and staying close to God ourselves. And then we can do whatever we can to encourage the people we know to do the same thing. Because it's not our plans that are important. It's God's plans. God has plans to give us hope and a future. So let's claim that hope and claim that future. And let's follow God's plans. Because one thing we know is that when a plan comes from God, it's going to be a pretty awesome plan. Amen.